Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Dorothy who lived with her Uncle Henry and Auntie Em in Kansas. Their house was very small. They lived together in a cottage in the countryside. Dorothy loved to run and play in the fields with her dog Coco. One day, as she was playing outside, the sky darkened and a storm began to brew. In a panic, her aunt and uncle started closing the windows while calling out to Dorothy.
Dorothy, quick, to the shelter!
Hurry! A tornado is approaching! Dorothy and Coco ran home. But just before they reached the shelter, the tornado started spinning and spinning the little cottage and blew it away from its foundations. Coco and Dorothy were whirling with the house. Dorothy held on to her little dog tightly, waiting for the tornado to end. Oh, don't be scared, Coco. It'll be over soon. Finally, the house landed somewhere with a big thud. After the storm, when everything had calmed down, Dorothy and Coco got out of the house. They couldn't believe their eyes. They were in a totally different place. Everywhere was filled with sparkling and colourful flowers. Suddenly, several tiny fairies rushed out from among the flowers and greeted them. In front of them all was the Fairy Queen. Welcome, Dorothy. I'm the Good Fairy of the North. I've come here with my protective fairies to congratulate you. Hello, Queen of the Fairies. I'm very pleased to meet you, but I don't understand why you are congratulating me. With the great tornado that brought your house here with you, you blew the Wicked Witch of the West far, far away. You saved the country from a huge danger. Oh, really? Thank you very much, Madame. At least there was a benefit to my house blowing away. Look here, Dorothy. These are the shoes that the Wicked Witch of the West has always wanted. She had just gotten a hold of them, but she must have dropped them as she flew away. Wear these shoes right away. You will need them in the future. Not understanding why, Dorothy took off her shoes and wore the new pair right away. My dear fairy, how will I return home? Can you help me, please? I'm sorry, but only the Wizard of Oz can help you, Dorothy. You must go to the city where he lives. For this, you must follow this path that you see and go straight past the forest. Once you arrive to the city, you will see the palace before you. Goodbye. Suddenly, all the fairies lit up brightly and flew away. Dorothy and Coco started walking down the path that the fairies had mentioned. Not before long, they arrived at a field. It was a golden field of wheat. Suddenly, they heard a sound.
Hey, beautiful girl, please help me.
Dorothy turned and looked behind her. There was a scarecrow standing and waiting there. He was tied to a post trying to free himself. Upon seeing the talking scarecrow, Dorothy ran right up to him, surprised.
Please save me from this post. I want to be free. If only I had a brain, maybe I would find a way to escape.
We're going to the Wizard of Oz to ask him to help us get home. If you join me and Coco, maybe you can ask him for a brain.
That's a wonderful idea. Of course I'd love to. Go on then, me from this post so we can continue on our way.
Dorothy saved the scarecrow from the post at once. Now the three of them started their journey together. Finally, they arrived at the forest. Propped up against a tree by the side of the road, they saw a tin man. He was busy oiling his screws and was whistling away.
Hello, little girl and friends. Where are you headed?
Dorothy told him everything that had happened.
Let me come with you. Maybe he'll give me a heart.
Why not? Of course you can come. Together, they walked a long way. It was getting very dark. It became pitch black. Dorothy noticed a pair of glowing eyes behind a tree. Hey, who are you? Come out!
Be careful, Dorothy. What are you doing? What if it's a monster?
It's not. Don't worry. Hey, you! Come out, I said! All of a sudden, a lion slowly came out from behind the tree. He was trembling with fear. He was very fearful.
Hello? Please don't hurt me. I'm a very good lion and I'm very scared. I have no self-confidence at all.
Dorothy was very sad to see the lion like this. They took him with them to see the Wizard of Oz. I hope you'll be able to find what you're looking for there as well, Mr. Lion. A few hours later, they reached the city and asked for directions to the palace of the Wizard of Oz. Once they walked past the city gates, they realized that they had arrived somewhere incredibly beautiful. The city was surrounded with bright lights and wonderful flowers. Birds happily chirping could be heard everywhere. Together, they approached the guards of the palace. We've come to see the Wizard of Oz. Can you please let him know? Suddenly, the doors of the palace opened, and with the guards they appeared before the wizard. The Wizard of Oz was a lovely old man sitting on a magnificent throne in a very fancy outfit.
Why do you want to see me?
Dorothy explained everything that had happened. The old wizard was a kind-hearted man. He was very sad for the little girl.
Actually, I can grant all of your wishes. However, the Wicked Witch of the West holds a wand. This wand is magical and incredibly powerful. It breaks all the spells that I cast. First, you must get this wand back.
You should have sent your soldiers. Maybe you could have gotten it back.
She knows my soldiers very well. She sends them back from halfway when she sees them approaching.
Since she doesn't know us, we should try our luck and maybe we will succeed.
You are very brave, Dorothy. There's nothing else I can do other than wish you luck. I'll await your good news.
That night, the Wizard of Oz invited them to stay as his guests in the palace. The next morning, the four friends set off together. As they approached the castle, the Wicked Witch of the West was shocked at what she saw.
Who are they? A scarecrow, a tin man, and a lion king, and a very beautiful girl.
Because she didn't know who they were and why they were coming to her castle, she sent 4 of her witch soldiers to capture them immediately.
Soldiers, arrest those who are approaching and lock them in the dungeon at once. Let's see why they are visiting me.
The 4 witches flew down, captured the 4 friends, and locked them in the dungeon.
No! What are they going to do to us? They're going to cut us and eat us for sure. Mummy!
Why have they locked up us here?
Frightened, they waited as the Wicked Witch of the West approached them.
Are you Dorothy? You will come with me to the tower. You'll explain to me what it is you want.
The witch held on tightly to her magical wand. Suddenly, she noticed Dorothy's shoes. These were the shoes that she had always wanted, but had accidentally dropped while being blown away by the tornado. She needed to take these shoes from Dorothy one way or another. With the shoes, her magical powers would grow stronger. When they reached the top of the tower, they started to talk.
Tell me, Dorothy, that's your name, isn't it? Why have you come to my castle?
I want to return to my home in Kansas. That's why I've come to you. They said only you could make this happen.
Of course. Though I have one condition. You must give me those shoes.
No, I can't. I need them. Even though Dorothy did not know what the shoes were good for, she remembered what the fairy had said. This answer angered the Wicked Witch of the West, and she realized she would not be able to take the shoes just by talking.
So, you're not giving them to me, are you? I know how to take them. Come here, you!
They ran in circles through the tower as Dorothy was being chased. Since the shoes were magical, the witch couldn't catch Dorothy, not even using magic. The Wicked Witch of the West started to get dizzy from all the running around. Suddenly, she lost her balance and fell from the very top of the tower. When she fell to the ground, she turned into a huge black rock. Just before she fell, she dropped her magical wand. Dorothy took the wand immediately and headed to the dungeon to free her friends.
Dorothy, you're here at last. We were worried sick. Where's the witch?
Yes, where's the witch? They're not going to eat us, are they?
Forget the witch for now. We need to take this wand to the Wizard of Oz right away. In no time, they escaped from the castle and headed right to the palace of the wizard. As the Wizard of Oz held the magical wand in his hands, a smile formed on his face.
Finally, all evil has come to an end. This is because of you, Dorothy. Now, let's come to everyone's wishes.
With the magical wand, the wizard granted the Tin Man a heart. The Scarecrow a brain, and the Lion courage. Everyone was filled with joy. The lion kept on roaring away.
Now time for you, Dorothy. Come next to me. Listen to me well. When you tap the shoes that you're wearing on the ground 3 times, all of your wishes will come true. You can finally go home and be reunited with your family.
The friends, who realized that they would now be parting from one another, hugged each other.
Dorothy, because of you I have a brain and can't think. Look, if it weren't for you, I'd be stuck on that post in the field.
Yes, Dorothy. And now I have a heart. I love you.
And because of you, I am now a brave lion. Now let others be afraid of me.
I'm so glad to have met you all. You were great road companions. Thank you so much. Time to go. Come on, Coco. Are you ready to go back home? Dorothy took Coco in her arms and tapped her feet 3 times. She suddenly found herself at home. Uncle Henry and Auntie Em hugged her tightly. She told them everything that had taken place. But now she was home. She could play with Coco in the fields once again. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a woman who desperately wanted a child, but could not bear one. She cried every day from sadness. One day, as she cried, a fairy appeared before her. Why are you crying? Tell me. Maybe I can help.
I have no one. I want a daughter. She would be a friend to me.
Okay, don't cry anymore. I'm going to give you a seed, plant it, and place it where it can get plenty of sunshine. Also, sing to it every day. When it grows and blooms, you will see a surprise. The woman did everything as the fairy said. She sat by the flower pot and sang to it every day. One day, she saw a small sprout. Soon after, the sprout turned into a pink rosebud. The woman was so joyful and happy. One day, as she was smelling the rose, she kissed it. Suddenly, the rose petals slowly started to unfold. Inside was a blonde-haired, pink-cheeked little girl as small as a thumb. She was so shocked and delighted. She realized why the fairy had given her that seed. She immediately took the girl into her palms and started talking to her.
My beautiful girl, welcome to your home. I'm your mother. Your name shall be Thumbelina.
She immediately made a cradle for her out of walnut shells, a bed out of violet leaves, and a blanket out of rose petals. Thumbelina was so happy with her mother. She sang songs and danced with her. Her mother filled a cup with water and placed some walnut shells inside. Thumbelina would ride around with the leaves and shells for hours. Time passed, and Thumbelina had grown, yet she was still tiny. One night, as Thumbelina was sleeping in her bed, an ugly frog entered through a gap in the window. He stared at Thumbelina as she slept.
Oh, she's so beautiful, just the perfect girl to be my daughter-in-law.
He slowly picked her up and placed her next to the pond in the garden. His son immediately ran towards his father.
This girl who is to be my wife is so beautiful, Father. Let's keep her on this lotus flower until we prepare everything so that she doesn't escape.
In the morning, Thumbelina, who opened her eyes on the lotus flower, noticed she was in the middle of the pond, was very scared and so started crying. All the fish in the pond that heard her voice swam towards her.
Why are you crying? What's wrong?
What am I doing here? I was happily sleeping in my bed. I open my eyes and I'm here. I want to go home to my mother.
That ugly frog and his son put you here. Apparently you're going to get married. Don't you want to?
No! Help me, please!
All the fish started gnawing at the stalk of the lotus flower rooted at the bottom of the pond. As the stalk broke, the lotus started drifting with the wind. It floated all the way to the side of the pond. But this time, a beetle living on the tree saw Thumbelina.
Oh, an interesting insect that doesn't look like us. Let me take it home so my friends can see it too.
He immediately grabbed Thumbelina and took her to his home in the tree. His friends were very surprised.
It looks just like a human. Take her away. We don't want her in our home.
The beetle thought he had upset his friends, so he took Thumbelina and left her in the forest. Thumbelina, who was incredibly hungry and thirsty, was trying to drink water from the flowers. Since she couldn't find anything to eat, she felt weak. The weather was also extremely cold, so she started shivering. Her clothes were even for summer. She walked for a long time to find some shelter. Finally, in front of a small pile of soil, a door appeared. She knocked on the door with joy. An elderly lady mouse opened the door.
I'm very cold and very hungry. Please take me into your home.
And who are you?
My name is Thumbelina. I'm gonna tell you everything that has happened. But first, can you please take me inside? I'm so cold.
Come on in, beautiful Thumbelina.
When she went in, Mrs. Mouse fed Thumbelina until she was full. And she told Mrs. Mouse everything that had happened to her one by one. As they were living together, one day, someone knocked on the door. They had a visitor.
Oh, welcome, Mr. Mole.
Thank you.
And who is this beautiful girl, Miss Mouse?
Let me introduce you. This is Thumbelina. We live together now.
Very nice to meet you, sir.
Admiring the beauty of Thumbelina, Mr. Mole was now visiting Mrs. Mouse's house every day. He would bring lots of gifts and food to get Thumbelina's attention. After some time, Mr. Mole decided to speak to Thumbelina.
Thumbelina, I like you very much. I'd like to marry you and start a family. That is, if you would like to, of course.
Mr. Mole, thank you very much. You're a gentleman, but I'm not thinking about getting married.
At night, Mrs. Mouse wanted to speak to Thumbelina about this. She thought Thumbelina could be happy.
You don't want to get married, but let's just go to his house together. If you change your mind, you'll see what kind of a home he'll be living in. What do you say?
Actually, Thumbelina didn't want to marry Mr. Mole because moles live under the ground without seeing the sun. This was not appropriate for her. She was a girl of sunshine. Thumbelina didn't want to break Mrs. Mouse's heart, so she followed her and headed straight to Mr. Mole's home. But before they got there, they saw an unconscious pigeon on the way. Thumbelina ran right over to it. She wanted to know what had happened. When she carefully examined it, she realized that the pigeon's wing was injured. She rushed back home, grabbed the first aid kit, and returned to the unconscious pigeon. She dressed the wound and wrapped it tightly. The white pigeon that opened her eyes even managed to drink some water. "I'll never forget your kindness, Thumbelina. One day I will help you too." At night, Thumbelina talked to Mrs. Mouse.
Dear Mrs. Mouse, there are a few things I need to tell you. First of all, I don't want to marry Mr. Mole. He belongs to the underworld and me on Earth to the sun. Also, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. You saved my life, but I miss my mother and my home very much. I will ask the pigeon to take me home as soon as she heals.
Okay, Thumbelina, as you wish, as long as you're happy. Anyone in my place would have done the same. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Same here, Mrs. Mouse. I will miss you very much.
A few days later, the pigeon was healed. "I'm better now, Thumbelina, and I need to go. Do you need anything?"
Yes, I would like to ask you to take me home. Can you do this for me?
With pleasure. Thumbelina bid farewell to Mrs. Mouse and climbed on the pigeon's back. They flew up in the sky. In order to not fall from the wind, Thumbelina held on tightly to the pigeon. They finally arrived at Thumbelina's house. Mrs. Pigeon dropped her off among the flowers in the garden, and she thanked her again as she soared towards the sky. Thumbelina, who was finally home after months of being away, ran to her mother and gave her a big hug. Her mother was overjoyed.
God, what a beautiful day. I'm so happy. We're finally reunited. Welcome, my beautiful girl. I've missed you very much.
I've missed you too, Mother. I'll tell you everything I've been through. Let's never be apart again, okay?
After all that had happened, Thumbelina never went far from the home. And she played with the flowers in the sunny garden. One day, she noticed a very special, sparkling, beautiful flower like the sun.
Wow, what a different flower. I don't think I've ever seen it around here.
Thumbelina jumped from flower to flower and approached that flower. And right at that moment, the petals of the sparkling flower opened up. Thumbelina, who saw a handsome tiny man just like herself, was shocked.
Oh, who are you?
I'm this garden's fairy. And you, beautiful girl, who are you?
My name is Thumbelina. My mother chose this name because I'm so tiny. This is our garden, but I've never seen you here before.
Both the Flower Fairy and Thumbelina had never come across anyone their own size. With this astonishment, they liked each other at the first glance. As time passed, they would wander around the garden, play games and spend time together. And one day...
Thumbelina, I'd like to ask you something. Will you marry me?
Thumbelina was very happy upon hearing his proposal, because finally someone who she loved to spend time with, whom she could always live with among the flowers, and if she married, could live close to her mother, had proposed to her.
Of course, my prince.
As a wedding gift, the Flower Fairy sprinkled Thumbelina with fairy dust, and all of a sudden, Thumbelina had wings. The Flower Fairy and Thumbelina lived happily ever after in her mother's garden. Once upon a time, there lived a carpenter named Geppetto. His wood carvings were very much appreciated by everyone. This carpenter, who was very skillful in his work, loved to make puppets from wood. His shop was filled with these puppets. Sometimes he would sell these puppets and sometimes he would gift them to children. His biggest wish was to have a child.
My dear God, if only I had a child that could play with these toys I make. He could also be a companion to me in the long winter nights.
One day, he went to the forest. He was looking for the appropriate wood for the new puppet he was going to make.
This is just the wood I'm looking for. Solid but soft enough to carve. I can easily make the nose, mouth and arms out of this. It's going to be a wonderful puppet.
He placed the log he had found on his shoulders and headed back to his shop and placed it on his counter. Got to work. Suddenly, he heard a sound.
Ow!
Oh. Where's this voice coming from?
He continued carving again.
Ow!
I think I'm dreaming. The sound can't be coming from the log. I must be imagining things.
Thinking that the voice had come from outside, Geppetto continued working. With great patience and thoroughness, he finished the puppet's head, body, arms and legs. He was admiring his work.
What a beautiful puppet it turned out to be. But it needs clothes and shoes.
He dressed his puppet with the children's overalls and shoes that he had in the shop. It turned out to be such a lovely boy, he placed the puppet on his table.
Since I don't have any children, I can be friends with this puppet. I've even got a name for him. Yes, Pinocchio it is. Your name shall be Pinocchio, little puppet.
He started to clean his counter, but just then heard a sound behind him.
Good evening.
He turned around, but there was no one except the puppet. He continued cleaning.
Hello, Father Geppetto.
Suddenly, Pinocchio jumped from the table to the floor. He started wandering around the shop.
My God! Pinocchio the puppet has come to life.
Surprisingly, his eyes wide open, he was watching him. Pinocchio wasn't human, but he was talking, walking, and playing. Days and weeks passed. Geppetto was so happy. Pinocchio never left the carpenter's shop. He would help him with all his work, and at night, they would sit and chat by the fireplace.
Pinocchio, can you pass the saw?
Of course, Father.
Pinocchio, where are the nails?
Right here.
This way, they lived happily for a couple of years. It was time for Pinocchio to go to school. But they had no money to buy a notebook, a pencil, or a school bag for him. Geppetto had a watch that belonged to his father. He brought this watch to an antique shop, sold it, and gave all the money to Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, this is your money, but I'm giving it to you to buy the things you need for school. Go and buy yourself a notebook, a pencil, and a school bag and head straight to school.
Pinocchio put all the money in his pocket and headed for school. As he was looking at the shops on his way, people noticed him and were staring. "What a strange child with a wooden puppet look," they said. After some time, a huge colourful tent appeared before him. There was a crowd at the door, giving money and going in. With curiosity, he came to the door. There was a clown at the door making people laugh and taking the people who gave him money inside.
Sir, what is this tent? What's inside? Can I go in?
This is a circus. You can't go in if you don't have money.
He remembered the money in his pocket, which his father had given him to go to school.
I have money. Here you go.
He went in. Inside, there was someone on stage that was making the puppets talk and dance.
These are puppets just like me.
With the happiness of seeing someone just like him, Pinocchio jumped onto the stage. The puppeteer that noticed him screamed in shock.
Oh my God, this puppet moves all by himself. I'm going to make so much money out of him. Hey, little one, come here. There's an amazing animal show inside. Do you want to watch?
Really? I sure would. Where? In this room?
Pinocchio, who believed the puppeteer, went into the room. But as soon as Pinocchio went in, the puppeteer locked him in the room. Poor Pinocchio was very, very sad and was crying.
What a big mistake I've made. I spent the school money. I also disobeyed my father, so now I'm in trouble. What am I gonna do now?
A good fairy that saw Pinocchio crying with regret entered through the open window and landed on the table in the room that Pinocchio was in. With her magical wand, sparkling wings and blonde hair, she was a beautiful fairy.
Ooh.
Hi, Pinocchio. Don't worry, I'm going to save you. But first you should tell me everything that's happened. But don't forget, you must tell me the truth.
My dad gave me money to come to the circus, but out of nowhere a man locked me in here.
Pinocchio, whose nose suddenly started growing, was in shock.
Oh, what's going on?
I told you that you need to tell me the truth, Pinocchio. If you lie, your nose will grow even longer.
Pinocchio apologized and told the fairy the whole truth. His nose immediately turned back to normal.
Pinocchio, you regret disobeying your father. Now I'm going to save you from here and give you back your money. Don't make the same mistake again.
You're such a good fairy. Thank you very much. I promise I won't do it again. It was my mistake to enter a circus that mistreats animals in the first place. I'm so ashamed.
The good fairy unlocked the door with her magic wand and took Pinocchio out of the circus. Pinocchio went on his way, singing as he headed to school.
La 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 la. 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 La 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 la.
As he delightfully walked down the road, a sly fox and a crow appeared before him.
What kind of a kid is this? He looks really foolish. He probably has money in his pocket, too. Hey, where are you going?
I'm going to school.
Well, you don't have a notebook, pencil, and a school bag. How can you go to school?
I don't, but my money is in my pocket. I'm going to buy them with this.
The fox and the crow looked at each other and started laughing mischievously.
This is the person we've been looking for. We can trick this dog easily. Oh, this is such a small amount. You can't buy all of them with this, but I know a shop where everything is half the price. If you want, give us the money. We'll run and get all of them for you in a snap.
Plus, you'll have some money left over too.
Oh, really? That would be great. Thank you so much. You're such great friends.
Okay, you sit under this tree and wait. We'll go and bring you what you need.
Pinocchio gave all his money to the fox and crow, sat under the tree and waited. He waited, waited and waited. After a long time, Pinocchio finally realized that he had been tricked. He was thinking sadly about what to do. Suddenly, the good fairy appeared before him again, fluttering her wings.
Haven't you gone to school yet? Why are you here? I hope you don't forget the last time. Please tell me the truth.
Ashamed of having his money stolen, Pinocchio lied again.
I dropped my money out of my pocket.
Pinocchio, whose nose suddenly started growing, was in shock again.
Oh!
I told you to tell me the truth, Pinocchio. If you lie, your nose will get even longer this time.
Pinocchio apologized and told the good fairy the whole truth. Once again, his nose turned back to normal.
Thank you very much. But I still don't have any money to buy a notebook, pencil, and a school bag. I'm so embarrassed.
Since you've told me the truth, the money is in your pocket. But don't lose it again.
As Pinocchio was walking and singing on his way, he suddenly came across the puppeteer from the circus. As soon as he saw Pinocchio, who ran away from the circus, he started to chase him.
Come here, you little naughty puppet!
Pinocchio, while escaping with fear, tripped on a stone and fell straight into the sea.
Oh! Help! Help! Help!
But because he was made out of wood, he didn't sink. As he moved his hands and feet in order to not sink, he realized that he was swimming. He liked it very much, so he swam, swam, and swam. But that day, the sea was very wavy. The waves dragged him very far. He was so far out in the sea that he was sleepy from exhaustion, and since he didn't sink, he comfortably fell asleep on top of the water. When he woke up, he found himself in a dark place.
Hey, what's happening? Where am I? What is this place? Ew, it smells awful.
As his eyes got used to the dark, he realized that he was now in the stomach of a large whale. It turns out that a big whale had swallowed him. Geppetto was worried sick about Pinocchio, who still hadn't come back home. He went out to search for him. He asked everyone he came across.
Have you seen a small wooden boy pass by?
he came all the way to the seashore and asked the fisherman,
About an hour ago, a kid fell into the sea around here. He may be your son.
Please give me a boat. I'm going to go out to the sea. I need to find him.
The fisherman gave him a small boat. Geppetto got in the boat and sailed out to the sea.
Pinocchio, my son. Pinocchio, where are you?
The small boat couldn't fight the waves, and when it capsized and flipped over, Geppetto fell into the sea. The whale that had swallowed Pinocchio also swallowed Geppetto. He also didn't understand where he was in the pitch darkness. But Pinocchio saw him and started crying.
Father! Father! You found me! I was so scared!
Pinocchio, my son, my son.
Forgive me, Father. I will never disobey you again.
Okay, Pinocchio. We'll talk about this at home. Now let's search for a way to get out of here.
Father, I'm going to try something. I hope we succeed. Good fairy! Good fairy! Can you hear me?
The waves carried his voice all the way to the good fairy's ears.
My God! This is Pinocchio's voice!
The fairy flew towards his voice and appeared inside the whale's stomach where they were.
Pinocchio, you are truly regretful, and I will help you one last time.
When she touched them with her magic wand, they found themselves at the shore. After that day, Pinocchio became a very smart kid. He always listened to his father. He was going to school and helping his father just like the old days. The good fairy tested Pinocchio from time to time. She knew that Pinocchio did not lie anymore and that he always listened to his father. She said, now is the perfect time, and one night she turned Pinocchio into a real child while he was sleeping. The next day, when Pinocchio woke up, he felt a little strange. His heart was beating and he felt blood flowing throughout his body. He was no longer made of wood, but was a real child. He ran straight to his father.
Father! Father! Look how much I've changed!
My God, my prayers have been answered. I now have a real son.
After that day, they lived happily ever after. Pinocchio was now a child to be proud of.
Hey guys! Subscribe to our channel KONDOSAN and watch the most popular fairy tales, cartoons, and nursery rhymes. Don't forget to click the bell for notifications.